Ever since it first aired in 1989, The Simpsons has built a reputation as more than just an animated sitcom. Beneath the slapstick comedy, Homer's cluelessness, and Bart's rebellious one-liners lies an entire universe of hidden jokes, Easter eggs, and coded references. To most viewers, they're invisible. But to sharp-eyed fans, these details transform the show into a treasure map filled with secrets. In this first section, we're uncovering the codes, hidden gags, and overlooked moments that have been hiding in plain sight for over 3 decades. Let's start with something deceptively ordinary. The Simpsons' home address, 742 Evergreen Terrace. At first glance, it's just a number. But dig deeper, and you'll find 742 appearing across the show in mysterious ways. It shows up on arcade machines, price tags, and even background signs. Fans have speculated for years that this was a nod to creator Matt Groening's childhood home, while others argue it's an inside joke shared by the animators. Whether intentional or not, it's proof that even the smallest details in Springfield carry more weight than they seem. Numbers aren't the only thing coded into the show. Music often serves as a hidden language. Lisa Simpson's saxophone solos are a perfect example. To the casual listener, they're random riffs. But careful fans have noticed her solos sometimes quote from real jazz standards, slipping in notes from legends like Charlie Parker and John Coltrane. Even background music in Springfield's grocery stores or taverns occasionally parodies or recreates real-world songs. These are tihtai throwaway details. They read deliberate nods meant to reward those who pay attention with their ears, not just their eyes. Speaking of overlooked details, Springfield's library might be the single richest source of Easter eggs in the entire show. When the camera pans across its shelves, you'll notice absurd titles like Advanced Banjo, Canine Psychology, or Cooking for Cannibals. None of these books exist outside Springfield, and that's the point. They parody the idea of filler books on TV sets while adding another layer of humor for fans who pause and read. It's the animators winking at viewers. If you're willing to slow down, you'll find jokes hidden everywhere. Now, let's talk about something darker, Mr. Burns and the frozen billionaire theory. In one Treehouse of Horror episode, Mr. Burns is shown cryogenically frozen, a direct parody of the urban legend about Walt Disney's body being preserved after death. At first, it seemed like a throwaway gag. But over time, fans began speculating that this idea wasn't random. After all, Burns represents timeless greed, the kind of power that never really dies. Could this be the writer's way of saying that corporate greed outlives generations, making Burns immortal in his own twisted way? The writers don't just hide secrets in jokes. They also bury them in visual gags that break reality itself. Remember the legendary scene where Homer stumbles into a 3-dimensional world in Treehouse of Horror 6? That wasn't just groundbreaking animation in the 90s. It was also a philosophical gag. Homer literally escapes the cartoon medium and enters our reality. Years later, shows like Rick and Morty and Family Guy would toy with breaking the fourth wall, but The Simpsons did it first, layering deep commentary under the humor. Another fascinating Easter egg lies in the changing intro sequence. We all know Bart's chalkboard gags and Homer's mishaps at the nuclear plant. But look closer. The intro has evolved over time, dropping hints about cultural changes and even sneaking in one-off references. For example, the couch gag isn't ishi just random. It often reflects the tone of the episode or larger cultural jokes. This evolving intro is more than just filler. It's a mini canvas for coded humor. Even small background signs often contain entire storylines. Whether it's Duff beer ads parodying real-life marketing or church signs with bizarre slogans, Springfield's background is alive with satire. If you pause almost any scene, there's a hidden joke waiting. One famous gag involves the Springfield nuclear plant, which proudly displays safety signs while Homer and his co-workers openly break every rule imaginable. These details double as biting critiques of real-world institutions. What makes these secrets so powerful is that most people miss them entirely. The Simpsons rewards obsessive rewatchers. Every rewatch feels new because the background details transform Springfield into something closer to a puzzle box than a cartoon town. And yet, these Easter eggs aren't the only secrets hidden in plain sight. The Simpsons also uses its enormous cast of side characters to bury cryptic references. Take Bleeding Gums Murphy, Lisa's jazz mentor. After he died, his character virtually vanished, except for rare, subtle appearances in clouds or dream sequences. Fans have argued this represents Lisa's grief lingering in quiet moments, a rare case of emotional continuity in a show that otherwise resets every week. Another case is Maude Flanders, Ned's wife. When she was written out, it shocked fans. But The Simpsons didn't just forget her. Over the years, tiny visual reminders of Maude pop up, often in church or family photos. It is a subtle but consistent reminder of Springfield's strange continuity rules. Characters can disappear, but their absence becomes a hidden part of the show's texture. At its core, Section 1 shows us that The Simpsons is far more than a surface-level cartoon. The writers and animators have carefully woven a tapestry of codes, inside jokes, and references that demand rewatching. They challenge viewers. Look closer, because the secret of Springfield isn't in what S said aloud. It's in the details hiding just outside the spotlight. That's the brilliance of this series. It doesn't just entertain. It dares us to decode it. And once you see these secrets, Springfield feels less like a sitcom and more like a living puzzle. If Section 1 revealed the hidden world of Springfield's codes and Easter eggs, Section 2 takes us to the part of The Simpsons that has fascinated fans for decades. Its eerie predictions of the future, its bizarre celebrity cameos, and the mysteries that blur the line between comedy and prophecy. Let's start with the most infamous example: the Donald Trump presidency. Back in 2000, in the episode Bart to the Future, Lisa becomes President of the United States and casually mentions inheriting a budget crisis from President Trump. At the time, it was pure satire, a joke about America's obsession with celebrity culture. Fast forward 16 years, and suddenly the joke wasn't funny anymore. Trump was president and fans swore The Simpsons had predicted it. Was it prophecy, or simply sharp satire taken to its logical extreme? This wasn't the only time the show seemed to see the future. In the 1990s, Springfield residents casually used smartwatches, FaceTime-like video calls, and autocorrect systems that mirrored real-world technology years before it appeared. One particularly funny gag shows a phone autocorrecting "beat up Martin" to "eat up Martha," a flaw that mirrors early iPhone frustrations almost exactly. Were the writers simply imagining exaggerated versions of existing tech, or did they have an uncanny eye for how Silicon Valley would shape the future? The predictions extend into medicine and science. In 1993, the episode Marge in Chains introduced a viral outbreak called the Osaka flu, which spread across Springfield after shipping boxes arrived from Asia. Decades later, during the global pandemic of 2020, this episode resurfaced online as fans marveled at its parallels. Of course, The Simpsons didn't invent the concept of viruses, but the uncanny resemblance between fiction and reality made people question just how lucky these guesses really were. Technology isn't the only arena where Springfield looked ahead. The writers also toyed with space travel and AI years before they became mainstream. Elon Musk even guest-starred in an episode, portrayed as a genius inventor with futuristic ideas, a parody at the time, but eerily close to how Musk is often described in real life. Professor Frink's gadgets, often shown as ridiculous, now resemble real inventions like self-driving cars, streaming platforms, and virtual assistants. What was once science fiction became science fact. But the predictions are only part of the mystery. The Simpsons also uses celebrity cameos in fascinating ways. Michael Jackson's disguised appearance is legendary, but others like Paul McCartney, Leonard Nimoy, and Stephen Hawking each brought layers of meaning. Paul McCartney, for example, agreed to appear only if Lisa remained vegetarian for the rest of the series. That condition was honored, making Lisa's vegetarianism one of the few permanent character traits in the show. These cameos weren't just fun. They literally changed the DNA of the characters. Another overlooked mystery lies in the characters who vanish. We mentioned Bleeding Gums Murphy and Maud Flanders earlier, but consider the dozens of side characters who drift in and out of Springfield's storylines. Unlike other cartoons, The Simpsons doesn't just recycle every character endlessly. Instead, it allows the background to shift, creating a world where disappearance itself becomes part of the narrative. It mirrors real life, where people move, die, or fade into memory. Springfield reflects this quiet truth in a surprisingly profound way. The visual gags in this section also tie into larger cultural mysteries. One famous example involves Bart writing chalkboard lines during the intro. Sometimes they're just jokes, but other times they reflect real-world events, scandals, or even sly nods to upcoming episodes. Fans who track these chalkboard gags argue they form a timeline of sorts, an evolving commentary on both Springfield and the outside world. All of this leads to the central question: is The Simpsons psychic? The answer is simpler and more unsettling. The writers aren't prophets. They're cultural satirists who exaggerate trends so sharply that, given enough time, reality catches up. If you predict that celebrity culture will dominate politics, eventually you'll be right. If you joke about technology advancing rapidly, eventually it will. Springfield feels prophetic because it's a mirror, not a crystal ball. That's the true genius of this show. The predictions, the cameos, the vanishing characters, the jokes in the margins, all of it creates a world that feels alive. It's a world where humor masks social commentary, where absurd gags disguise cultural critiques, and where predictions are really just sharp observations about humanity. So, when people say The Simpsons predicted the future, maybe they're missing the point. The show didn't just predict, it diagnosed. It diagnosed our obsession with celebrity, our dependence on technology, our fragile systems, and even our blind spots. That's why, decades later, the show still feels fresh. To end this section, let's return to Springfield itself. Think about the chalkboard gags, the couch gags, the background signs, the musical references, the disappearing characters, and the bizarre predictions. Together, they form a tapestry that makes The Simpsons less like a sitcom and more like a cultural archive. Every joke is a clue, every prediction is a warning, and every rewatch is an invitation to see what you missed the first time. The brilliance of The Simpsons isn't in its comedy alone. It's in the fact that behind the laughs, behind the chaos, and behind the yellow cartoon skin, the show is holding up a mirror to us. And sometimes what we see reflected back is scarier, funnier, and stranger than fiction itself.